All right, Final Word with Howlinblind. Special episode. This is the one that says the Beatles. All right. Now, all you guys, by the way, thank you for welcoming into the vinyl community. Uh, like I say, I've been collecting records or buying records ever since I was a kid. And I'm not going to tell you the boring story of why I turned into a dumbass and sold them all, but I started getting them all back. But this is a special one. Beatles, uh, back in February of 1964, on a Sunday night, I wanted to watch on TV The Wonderful World of Disney because they were showing the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, with Patrick McGowan. But my dad said to me, Gary, let's see what these Beatles are. So we watched the Ed Sullivan Show, and we saw the Beatles for the first time, as so many other people did too. And I became an instant Beatle fan overnight, even though I sat there like this because I didn't get to see Scarecrow, Bramley Marsh, which eventually, about 30 or 40 years later, I finally got the DVD. But anyway, I digress. This is about Beatles. Now, I've owned a copy of every Capitol Beatle album except the Beatles Story probably 4 or 5 times over. So, but there was one Beatle album that I never owned. I never owned any British import Beatle album, even though I had the chance back in 78, 79 to buy the blue box set of British albums. A friend of mine was moving to Las Vegas, offered me the entire box set, and there was probably about 4 or 5 albums that weren't even open yet. And I passed on that. But I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd got it. But here's the one that I've been waiting on. Now this is never owned this before in my life. Of course I had the songs because I had introducing the Beatles a couple times. Beatles, Please Please Me, 180 gram. This is a 2011 pressing, if I'm not mistaken, on the black Parlophone. It's supposed to be a replica of the original. Anyway, great album, by the way. I highly recommend it. It was supposedly mastered from the original 2009 digital masters. Sounds pretty good. Now let's get back to my wonderful childhood and the Beatles. So, me and my brother, who was a few years older than me, he was born in 52, I was born in 55. Oh, Mom, Dad, we want a Beatle album. So they went out and they got us a Beatles album. The Beatle Beat by the Bugs, with I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You on it, and then a bunch of weird titles that were not even the right titles to the songs they did on Cornet Records. Boy, that'd be like you telling your mom you want a Justin Bieber album and they go out and get you Pat Boone Sings, you know what I'm saying? Which, don't get me wrong, I love Pat Boone. I got a lot of his records. But anyway, this album, from 356 West 40th Street, New York City, recorded in England. I've done some research on this, and we were happy to have this. This was rock and roll to us, man. This was the Beatles. And this was actually recorded in New York City by a bunch of studio guys. I don't even think the guys on the record were the guys who did the recording. But this is what they bought us. And it's not a bad record, folks. You can pick it up in yard sales, flea markets and stuff. I ended up finding this copy later for like 60 cents. And it's not bad. You can get them on eBay. I think they're highly collectible. Isn't it weird? But that was our first Beatle album. Then later on, I know you guys have got some more impressive Beatle collections, me and Mr. Mayo. And I do buy my records to play, but I do understand if you got a playable copy and you got something else that's really, really unique, you know, you want to keep it sealed, I totally understand that. Alright, I just picked this up recently off eBay. The Beatles, Meet the Beatles. You know, this of course is not a first pressing. I don't look for first pressings pretty much because back in those days I know who bought these records, young kids like me who didn't take care of them and they were probably all scratched up. And this one's not in great shape. It needs some cover repair. But, oh man, when I got this in, it just took me right back. Right back, man. My favorite early Beatle album was Beatles' second, which of course this is not a reissue either. The other one, the Meet the Beatles, was the green label in the 70s, and this one is the orange capital. But and I, you know, it's not that I chose stereo over mono over stereo in these cases. It was just what was available. Beatles' second album, one of my favorite Beatle albums of all time. Somebody had written all over it. This one I got it for like $7, but it was in great shape. Plays great. I have to skip ahead a little bit. Like I say, back in those days, I had all of them. I had something new. I had help. I remember getting help brand new. Wish I still had that. But A Hard Day's Night. Hard Day's Night, brand new. My favorite Beatle album of all time was, we were in the Arlen store, and I begged my mom and dad. This album was probably about $2.50 brand spanking new. And I said, I'll give you my allowance for the rest of my life. I just want this album. I didn't get it then, but they ended up getting it for me a little bit later on. And I've had probably over the years 5 or 6 copies of it because I just play it to death. Beatles 65. Now this is a purple capital version. I love the She's a Woman and I Feel Fine on this, which from what I understand is not the exact same version that's on Past Masters. This has got a little more echo, a little reverb, you know. And I was brought up with the USA Capitol versions, and that's what I remember, and that's what I want to hear. And this is in stereo, and I remember sitting in the car. My dad would do radio on Wacky Radio here, Wacky 790 in Louisville, Kentucky, listening to Ringo saying, "Honey, don't." You know, he's in the parking lot waiting for my mom to come out with all the groceries for the week, and he just takes me back. It's all about memories and music and all that good stuff. Another album I got recently. Now, these are all recent finds. This is another orange, I think red or orange label. Beatles 6. Of course, I had a couple copies of this. Beatles' version of Words of Love is just amazing here. It's what Buddy Holly, I think, would have done had he lived beyond 59. This is a great album. You know, I always thought they were put their hands on a golf club, but it turns out they were cutting a birthday cake or something. And I remember the 45 of 8 days a week, and I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, I think had the same picture on it. But anyway, there's my Beatles 6. Now, we'll skip a couple of years. Like I say, I used to have them all. I wish I still did, and I'm on my quest of collecting them. In 1968, when this came out, and of course this is not an original pressing, this is an orange label. I do have back in my box of archives somewhere an original poster from the original album that I used to own, and I found the John Lennon photo, the Beatles White Album, and the one I had, of course, was embossed, had the numbers on it, but this one doesn't. But plays great, sounds great. Got it at a reasonable price. I think it was like 12 or 13 bucks. It was a bid. It just happened to be the right bidder at the right time, and nobody else outbid me. These things have gone for over 30 bucks in these pressings, but I'm happy to have it. Rocky Raccoon was my favorite tune. And then when this album came out, I went and saw the movie and thought it was fantastic. Let It Be. Now this is on the red vinyl. I mean, not red vinyl. Red apple. It says Ronnie and Phil in the Dead Wax, and I think it was Bell Sound, and what a great record. It's kind of odd, you know, Beatles working without Phil Spector. I've, you know, got the CD to Let It Be Naked, which I want to find the vinyl of that. And it's just so much better. The mix is so much better and cleaner. The one that Paul McCartney did go back and do with George Martin. Beatles Let It Be. And then Paul McCartney left the Beatles, cut his first album, and McCartney. Now this is on the old Apple. This is an Apple. This is a fairly early pressing, from what I can understand from Discogs. I'm not sure if it's. It was pressed by in America. I forget, it was at the Capitol, the Winchester plant, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe. But I remember when Wacky Radio played Ooh You, Maybe I'm Amazed, and two other songs off here. I can't remember which ones it was. And I thought, well, that means there's a 45 out with these 4 songs on it. So I went on a diligent hunt, couldn't find it, and eventually bought it, the album, McCartney. Then Paul came out with sorry about that, folks. Paul came out with his second album, Ram, which this is an old Apple. I'm not sure which pressing it is on Discogs, but I always did love that Apple album. You know, before the hit song Uncle Albert and Avril Halsey, I used to play that all the time as if it were a single from this album. So cool that turned out to be the one they released as the single. But this whole album's great. How can you listen to just one song? Last but not least is what I have right now. I'm going to get it all. And yeah, I mean, Mr. Mail, you know, some of the stuff I had, if I was able to find a great copy, mint condition, still sealed up, I'd probably keep it sealed. But I remember when this came out, and this wasn't John's first solo album. The Imagine album, this is an original early pressing. I forget, I think it's Bell Sound and the Dead Wax. Imagine. It's a great record. Great record. And I just want to, hang on, let me get this up. That's all the Beatles stuff I have right now. I plan on getting more. I just want to make a statement. Music is a great part of a person's life, and I'm 60 years old. So I've been listening to music ever since day one. You know, I don't remember the very first song I heard, but I remember sitting around the house as a child with a record player and a stack of 78s listening to Ray Charles on the Atlantic label. I do remember that. And that was pre-62, of course. I ended up having, later on in life, picking up a bunch of 78s, 45s over the course of years, albums, LPs. Vinyl was the way to go in those days. And I remember when cassettes come out, and my first song on cassettes was, you know, even though when cassettes got a little bit better, they sounded better. And I would make mixtapes for the car, as today I make mix CDs for the car. But if I'm sitting at home and I want to put on an album, or listen to some music, it's going to be vinyl. Music can do some wonderful things. It can take you back. It can give you these great memories, bring back some fantastic memories. Like I said, on this one, my mom and dad actually went out and bought me and my brother a record because we wanted it. Now my brother later on got into Elvis Presley, and he started combing his hair back, and I always combed my hair forward because I was a Beatles fan. I even had the Chipmunks sing the Beatles twice. But anyway, that's about right now, so far, as of today, my Beatle collection, 9/28/2016. It will grow, and I love watching you guys, your vinyl videos. Some great Beatle collections out there, and I love the fact that some super young guys, I've seen guys on there in their 20s, into vinyl. And so keep them coming. I got some more videos coming. I'm going to do a Glenn Campbell video of all my Glenn Campbell stuff. I got some pretty good Glenn Campbell. And some Dean Martin's, Frank Sinatra, I'll do all that. And I got some other good stuff too. More in rock and roll vein. And we'll just go from there. Y'all have a great day. Thank you much.